Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. We are approaching the top of the hour here, and I do want to get to a developing story that we have been following. Now, you are taking a live look over Port Canaveral, Florida, and you can see those cruise ships there in the distance. Now, questions loom over the death of Anna Kepner, the 18-year-old Florida woman who was found dead on a Carnival cruise ship. Our Fox 35 Orlando team has been covering this from the get-go, and the station reports that Kepner's stepmother and the stepmother's ex-husband appeared virtually in court over an unrelated custody dispute. But during that hearing, new details revealed about the Kepner family vacation aboard that cruise ship where Kepner was found dead earlier this month. Fox 35 reports that one of the revelations was that Kepner and some of her step-siblings were sharing a cabin aboard that cruise ship, including her 16-year-old stepbrother. While investigators have not released much of anything regarding the investigation, court documents there do allege that stepbrother is under suspicion by the FBI as a potential quote-unquote suspect in her death. Again, though, law enforcement not speaking publicly about that. During the hearing, it was also mentioned that the stepbrother was taken to the hospital right after the cruise ship docked at Port Miami, but a reason for that not mentioned as well. Several media outlets, including ABC News, reporting now via sources that Kepner, an 18-year-old Florida cheerleader, may have died by asphyxiation, though, again, the medical examiner's office not revealing an official cause of death. There are so many questions here and very few answers. I do want to bring in Scott Duffy, retired FBI supervisory special agent, to talk much more about the case itself. Scott, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you, Josh.
Of course. And first off, I do want to ask you here your overall thoughts, because we've talked about so many different cases that are being investigated over the past, I would say, several years. And this one, it seems as though there is not a lot of information that's being released. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so these cruise ship mishaps, homicides, missing people, you have a host of these type of incidents that are taking place on cruise ships. And so thereby you've seen the FBI involved with these type of cases, and that is typically because the FBI is the primary or has primary jurisdiction in cases like this to investigate, to see if there is a crime, if somebody is missing from the ship. Have they been thrown off board? Have they jumped off board accidentally by someone else, etc.? And so the FBI has that jurisdiction because these ships are typically in international waters, crossing back and forth between different international jurisdictions. And so the FBI would have jurisdiction. This case, Josh, yes, you have a lot that is taking place with regards to an 18-year-old female missing and then located within her own room on the ship. And then you have rumors that are quickly swirling of who did it. Somebody, a stranger, an employee, or perhaps in this case, a family member. And so now you have a good old-fashioned whodunit, and that investigation is possibly always start with your inner circle, your family. Is this a domestic situation gone bad, regardless of where that may have taken place?
One thing that's interesting is we are talking about a cruise ship, so that is a confined space. We've discussed this in the past when we've talked about different cases, but the public always pivotal here in an investigation in general. How pivotal will the other passengers here that were on board this cruise ship be in determining exactly what happened if they weren't in the room?
Yeah, so witnesses are important regardless if there's nobody who has witnessed the crime, if this is in fact a crime, that the death of this young teenager is determined to be a manner of death, that being a homicide, then it's important to investigate by interviewing witnesses to see what has taken place leading up to that moment. Perhaps you have a witness that says, I saw her go into her room with an unidentified male or female, with several people single. So all those facts have to be developed, because lacking some sort of surveillance video or other technology that can put somebody else with these with this young victim, witnesses who may not realize that they were a witness. Perhaps they're taking a picture of themselves on vacation and they capture this victim in the background. Perhaps there's an argument taking place. Perhaps something that will give investigators just a little bit more, because ultimately the FBI arrives on scene and they have to figure out what led up to that moment. And so witnesses who don't even think that they have something to offer may very well have something pivotal, important to offer.
As all of this does continue, again, few details have been released. We are waiting on word from law enforcement involved here, as well as the medical examiner's office. Again, the report from several different media outlets saying that she did die of asphyxiation. My question for you is, what are some of the complications when you're talking about determining whether this is an accidental death or whether there is something more to it?
Yeah, so the FBI is going to investigate anything that a death. And so thereby they come on board, they secure the crime scene, bring in what I imagine their own evidence response team, and then look at what they can find from the crime scene. In this case, we know, at least from rumors and stories that are being put out, that she was found under the bed, in the bed. I don't know exactly the makeup. If you remove the mattress, is there something deep that you can see? And then ultimately finding the body with perhaps life preservers, a blanket, etc., showing that this is a staged scene, and so thereby somebody else had to be introduced to this scene as opposed to a natural death, an accidental death, and thereby she was alone at her death. So all these things come in place when the FBI is investigating, and they're going to be mum with regards to providing those details. Why? First and foremost, nobody has been arrested. Nobody has been identified as a suspect, and thereby those type of facts that they have, the FBI, are going to remain close to the vest as they are conducting search warrants, and those type of details need to remain quiet.
Does it matter? Does it have any sort of impact when you talk about the national and even international attention that has been kind of placed on all of this? You have people that are talking about it all over social media. You have every different media outlet that's reporting on this in some way. Does that have an impact on the investigation itself and really what information is released?
I think it would be naive, Josh, to say it does not have an impact on any investigation. But I think the FBI is well suited. They have been here before with these type of investigations. They have seen a tremendous amount of media attention. And so they are quite equipped in dealing with, hey, let's get to the facts. Let's allow the evidence to speak to the investigators. Let's allow the ME, the coroner, to determine that the manner of death, and then to determine what is the cause of death, in, as the rumor is, asphyxiation by an arm hold. And so thereby all these things are coming into place to help investigators. Ultimately, what you want to do when you have identified a suspect, that is to get in front of that suspect and be able to obtain an interview and a confession.
All right. Scott Duffy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and discuss this case. Obviously, it's one that is getting all of that attention, so we're waiting on potentially some additional information. There's a lot to this, but anything you want to add, anything we missed here before I let you go?
No, I think we see this time and time again. The FBI is involved. The FBI will do their due diligence, allow the evidence to speak to the investigators, and ultimately be able to say, this is our suspects, and be able to, hopefully in this case, if it is determined that the manner of death is homicide, that they will be able to identify and make an arrest.
All right. Scott Duffy, thank you again for being here with us today and breaking it all down. I'm sure we'll be in touch here as the investigation does continue. Thank you again.